Hi, it's yesterday at 12 o'clock. Welcome here. Today, I wanted to make fandom content. I haven't made too much fandom stuff as of yet, mostly just content about my own writing, but trust and believe, I can be extremely fanboy fangirl about different things. There's one standout in particular that I would classify as the fandom that I have been the most into, which is saying a lot coming from someone who's working on a 7-hour FNAF video. A video that's supposed to be part 1 of like 4. That's part of why I'm making this video. I wanted to make a more chill video about one of my more niche interests while FNAF is like on the pipeline. But this particular internet interest of mine is so ingrained in my skull that I won't think about it actively for like a while, a few months or so, but apparently some part of my brain will still be stewing on it because I'll be like doing laundry and going about my day, and suddenly I'll just get a flood of, oh my god, I figured out the answer to this thing, and then I will just spiral down into obsessing about it again and fact-checking and all this stuff. The problem is, as the title suggests, this is a dead fandom. Ain't nobody around to talk about it with. And it died for a doozy of a reason. So if there are other people still thinking about it, they're probably not very vocal about it because, holy crap, the scattering of the fans was quick, but very, very drama, you know? But me personally, have deep dive tendencies and grew up with the aforementioned FNAF obsession, so I've been a ticking time bomb of theories and lore that nobody has any context for, that's just getting denser and denser and denser. So I wanted to make this video about my theories just so I can put them somewhere and they stop rattling around in my brain. This is going to be very self-indulgent, and I'm gonna try to provide some context so I'm at least a little bit understandable. Honestly, this whole video is going to be a test of my abilities to stay, coherent. But as a part of that, I'm not going to be telling you what the fandom is. I won't be actively obscuring it or whatever. It's not like a mystery, and it won't be that hard to know what it is if you've heard of it. But I don't want to shout it out. Both as part of just the fun of this video and because the fandom did end for a very good reason, and the original creator stopped creating for a very good reason. I don't want to put that person on blast or whatever if there's been off-camera growth and help gotten and stuff, and I don't want to come anywhere near the slightest hint of supporting anything that happened if there hasn't been off-camera goings-on. Because goddamn, the way it ended was crazy town, guys. Ugh. But that's kind of a very hubris statement for me to make. I highly doubt this video will get any traction. But either way, I really hope that person is in a better place now and is doing better now. Mental health problems are hard and can get dangerous online. And I think the decision to put a big ol' pause of being an internet personality once those things got out of hand was a really good, mature decision. But the fandom, for a while, it was great, and the content was great, and the art and stories were fantastic and very inspiring, so we're going to talk about those parts. This is largely a video for me. and I guess for other people who used to enjoy and watch those videos, sort of let's make a safe space for us to reminisce and simultaneously move forward as a little unit, a little group. Or again, at least as me, because I don't know how many people watching know what I'm talking about. Honestly, if you do know the fandom I'm talking about and you stumbled upon this video, hi! Welcome here. I'm glad to see you again. I'm sorry you also had to see all that happen. Let me shake your hand. I ramble a lot, so there'll be timestamps that say what each theory is. There are a lot about characters we don't know too much about, because theories, but if you'd rather hear my theories about the characters you already knew and loved, like Jamie or Philip or Dez, Feel free to just jump around as you see fit. Actually, maybe I'll like pop a reference on screen to show who I'm talking about mostly in each theory or something. But let's not waste any more time. Let's get to the speed paint. Let me finally give this whopping number of.
We interrupt this program with a message from the future.
Hi, it's editing yesterday. I wanted to pop in and say I was wrong. I was a little bit overambitious in thinking that I could effectively summarize all of my theories in a single video. So instead, this is going to be the start of a series on my channel. Episode 1 will just be an introduction with my first 3 theories, and we will continue to talk about this and get into the rest of them as time goes on. Bite-sized chunks are probably better for my own sanity and for just the format of posting content. There will be at least one master compilation video of all of the theories in one giant marathon, but that will not be this video. Fun fact, I'm redrawing a piece of fan art that I made for this fandom on the 3-year anniversary of when I drew it. So 3 years of improvement from the original piece. I also just so happened to be posting this on the 2-year anniversary of the goodbye post. Just truly wild. I wonder if that was on purpose or something. Wow, it would take someone who's really, really smart to like line that up. Wow, that's so cool. Anyway, theory time. These are in no particular order, but the ones I think hit the hardest are towards the end. Kinda. Except for this first one, because I just need to get it out. Theory number 1. Philip, the main character, is named after Pippa, one of the biggest evil antagonists. Now, I know that sounds crazy, or a little bit anticlimactic, depending on who you are and what you already know, which is probably nothing. I think it sounds wild, but this is one of the theories that I have no idea how I came up with, but it makes a lot of sense. So there's a possibility that this was confirmed in some obscure post or something, but either way, there's a lot of evidence, so hear me out. First things first, their names sound the same, so let's get into that. In the Molly Rose AU, Philip's name is Philippia, and Pippa is an easy nickname for Philippia. And it makes sense for Pippa to want to go by that nickname because her mom, who's literally Adonia, would totally name her kid Philippia. And Pippa hates her mom and the rigid expectations, so I could easily see her changing her name to Pippa as like an act of defiance and truly embracing this mischievous chaos maker vibe that we know her as. Though I guess that does sort of contradict how Pippa was introduced, because we meet her before she's all chaotic and whatever, and she's already going by Pippa, but you don't necessarily, you don't need a reason to go by a nickname, and the important thing is that Pippa can easily be short for Philippia, so Philippia equals Pippa. The only other piece of evidence this theory would need is a reason for Philip's parents, his mom, to name him after Pippa, which, yeah. Des and Pippa were friends, because of course they were. That's the god of space and the spirit of Earth. That feels like a given. It just kind of makes sense, you know? But it was also confirmed somewhere, I don't remember, maybe on like a Tumblr post, but it definitely was. And also, if you don't believe me or think I'm misremembering that it was confirmed, Infinity and Pippa were friends, which I don't even think I need to call it a theory when I say Infinity, the guy with space magic, whose full name is the Soul, who is as infinite as space, who is a first-gen magical being, was the space god before Des, i.e. was Des's previous incarnation. So we know Des and Pippa can easily have chemistry, because Des, in her previous incarnation, they were friends with Pippa. And it also narratively makes a lot of sense and is very fun for both of the space gods to know Pippa and be friends with her. Also, Ambition was friends with Pippa for like a long time, and I think Ambition also might have been a space god, which I'll get more into later, but that's just kind of, even more evidence for Des and Pippa to know each other. Because it's like a recurring theme that the space god is friends with Earth. Love, obsessed, etc. But the most fun part of this theory is the fact that it adds drama to Pippa's death game. Because Des and Pippa used to be friends, then Pippa traps Des in a battle royale that she can't escape. And Des names her first kid, her first son, after Pippa as like an homage to her home planet Earth and to the friend Pippa that she lost, who trapped her. And I am in love with the idea that space grows up and names her oldest son after Earth. That's literally the cutest thing I've ever heard. And then that kid grows up to get really close to killing Pippa, which of course leads to problems because that's planet Earth. And also killing her would, according to a theory, break the oath of the overseers. But that's I'll get into that a little bit later. But also, for maximum drama, I don't know how many people know this, but Des gave Pippa the idea for the death game. I don't remember when that was confirmed, but I swear, we were told that explicitly. I think it has something to do with Yandere Desponia, which I think, honestly, of the possible villains for the Troubleshoot show about people traveling through portals to different planets, an evil alternate version of our protagonist is a really fun idea for a final boss. I'm here for it. Justice for Yandere Desponia. Literally, not to be vulnerable, not to confess too much, one of my favorite villains in the whole franchise. I did a significant amount of fan art of her back in the day, and I think I only posted this one painting that I did, but I also did a whole animation thing, or I did most of a whole animation thing to the song Everybody Loves Me that I never finished, and it ended with Desponia being replaced by Yandere Desponia, and it was just, I had so much fun with that character. And there's probably a better ending than, wait a minute, Des is acting weird, oh my god, wait, that's not the real Des is over there, and she has a bob now, and then battle happens, and then it just kind of ends without being explained, like why that happened, at least not explained in the series. But listen, you have to be here for the drama, and I would die for those few episodes where the fandom has to try to figure out what's wrong with Des and what happened. That would be absolutely fantastic. I would eat that up, especially if there was the context of the rest of the show. Which also, not a theory, more a question. Speaking of the villains of the series, the only ones I can think of for the Troubleshoot are Monster of the Week beasts or portal beasts or something. Maybe Puzzles, maybe Knowledge, and literally the only other person I can think of after that is Control, which, for reference, for the uninitiated, Control, I keep phrasing it if you're not in the fandom, that's a rarity. But I don't expect anyone who actually knows what I'm talking about to be watching this video. So Control is the all-powerful god king of reality. So he's certainly not just another person the main characters of this show could be fighting. He's not a season 1 bad guy. So I don't know who the fuck the other planned antagonists were. Probably Puzzles, right? I guess? Because, so there's this character called Puzzles. She was supposed to keep Des, following protocol, basically, I think. But, well, I mean, there's another, whatever. Basically, that's Puzzles' job, is to, she's an enforcer. She enforces the rules, and our characters are not following the rules. They are instead running around to different planets and having a TV show happen about them. So she's probably a bad guy, but I don't know who else. Honestly, that's one thing I would fight for so hard, is a list of the antagonists for the Troubleshoot specifically. If there was ever one made, I would love to have it, to just see the list. That would make me very happy, because a distinct ending of the show was in mind, obviously, with the whole Yandere Dysphonia thing and the Pippa's Death Game thing, so I assume a vague number of, like, ideal seasons were conceptualized. And I know there's, like, energy and obsession and science are kind of kicking around as major antagonists, but were they supposed to be in the Trouble Suit show? I guess, I don't know. I guess we'll never know. So, tragic. And I am already off track. Philip is named after Pippa. Thank you. Let's talk more about puzzles, actually. Because literally my oldest theory that I made for this fandom, literally in, like, 2019, when I started, like, looking at it through a magnifying glass and making theories, is about Puzzles and her brother Deduction. Which is so cute. I love that the twins are named Puzzles and Deduction. I think a Riddle character would fit really nice with them too, so it would be Puzzles, Deduction, and Riddles, or whatever. I think for a little while, Puzzles was, like, technically, she wasn't the overseer of Puzzles, she was the overseer of Riddles, but I don't know. Or, actually, that's another thing I have a theory about. Let's talk about that. Theory number 2, Puzzles/Deduction equals Riddler. So in this world, reincarnation, and being reborn is one of the biggest plot points and, like, functions of the story and the world. Everyone reincarnates. The only new characters we really meet are the ones from way back in the past, at, like, the start of the timeline. Everyone after that is a reincarnated version of somebody we've met before. Like, for example, Riddler. Riddler is the name of a character in the very first story in the timeline. He's a twin brother, he's a goofball, he gives, like, Sans the Skeleton vibes. Where have I heard this one before? That's also a description of Deduction. That's very similar. This theory is a bit unclear about which person Riddler would, be reincarnate into, like, if it's Puzzles or Deduction, because Deuce has the personality, but Puzzles, like I said, was called the overseer of Riddles in one of the sketchbooks. I think it was 12 or 13. If I get that right, that's actually wild. I really just ate this content up. But the question of which twin is Riddler doesn't particularly matter to me, because my answer is the secret third thing. My answer is that Riddler is actually both of them, because in this world there's a precedent for souls splitting in two. It's a very small one, but it is a thing that does happen with, oh yeah, Puzzles and Deduction's dad and his twin sister. It doesn't get much more wink wink, hint hint than that. Both Intelligence and his sister's previous incarnations were Wisdom, and Wisdom got cut in half and reincarnated into two separate twins, Intelligence and Knowledge. I could easily see that happening to Riddler, or at least, whoever Riddler's soul was before Puzzles and Deduction were born, like if it was somebody in the middle or whatever. But I do think that's the case. Also, for more evidence, we know like 5 things about Riddler. Are you ready? Here we go. Number 1, he has a thing for riddles, or at least he's named after them. Number 2, he's a twin. Number 3, he's silly. Number 4, he lucked out and inherited the family farm over his brother. And number 5, he deduced where Dreamer was after years of everyone believing that she was dead. 4 of those 5 things fit with either Puzzles or Deduction, or both. And the one that doesn't, the lucking out into getting the farm, could easily be seen as the equivalent of Puzzles, quote-unquote, lucking out and getting Knowledge's favor and getting one of the highest tier jobs that anyone in that whole society can get. The problem with this theory, honestly, is the eye color thing, but that's not actually a problem. So hold on. Let me really show off my full degree in this world's functions and world building real quick. So, okay, as told by the creator of the franchise, in this world, the phrase, eyes are the windows to the soul, is very literal. Your eye color will match the color of your soul, which is why the soul crystals always match the wearer's eyes. They're very fashionable accessories. Now, reincarnations always share a soul, but Puzzles and Deduction have bright green eyes, and Riddler has yellow eyes, or blue eyes, depending on how you interpret a weird thing that was said in the podcast. But you'd think that that makes it so Puzzles and Deduction could not be Riddler. But here's the thing. Your eyes match the magic color of your soul. Keyword magic. Your eyes only necessarily match your soul color if your magic has been awoken. And Riddler lived his life as a normal-ass guy. I guess you could bring up that Infinity had dark blue eyes, which is like already his soul color before his magic was awoken, but that could have been a coincidence. Blue eyes are just a thing. Or at the very least, maybe it was supposed to show that Infinity was already an overseer in this specific incarnation, while Riddler was like distinctly not magic in this incarnation. So I think, when he was reborn into two immediately magical people, Puzzles and Deduction, their eyes turned the correct color. They turned the bright green. The only thing that I think could feasibly be a problem with this theory is that Riddler, even if you ignore the eyes, looks nothing like Puzzles and Deduction. Different hair, different skin tone, all that. And reincarnations are usually visually the same. Maybe that person presents as a different gender, and they're in a different time period with a different clothing style, and maybe like their personalities are different, but all the features of their body are supposed to be identical. Like, look at Obsession and Ambition, for example. They look pretty much the same because Ambition died and was reborn into Obsession. But there are exceptions to this rule. Trust me, I promise there are exceptions, like Dreamer and Lucid, or Infinity and Dez, kinda. Or, for anyone who has an absolutely insane amount of lore and knowledge and knows the possible excuses for why Dez and Lucid, would look different and won't accept them as exceptions, I'm gonna throw this one out here. Method and Science don't look the same. So just take that. Dude, there are exceptions, okay? Personally, here's what I think. You want to know what I think? Okay. Theory number 3. Reincarnation is more complicated than we were led to believe. In the plot of the dang thing, over and over, as the new people joined the fandom, the rules of reincarnation were explained and re-explained. So, here we go. Everyone has a soul. Every soul has a magical color that matches your true eye color. You can put that soul in a crystal for magic purposes. If you can do that, because you're like a god person, when you die, your body turns to ash. The ash turns into a newborn baby, and congratulations, you've reincarnated Phoenix style. Every reincarnation has the building blocks of being the same person, like you have the same genetics as before, but because your body was destroyed, your brain was destroyed, and you have no memories of your prior life. And obviously, as time moves on with new life experiences, you will be led down a different path, make different choices, and inevitably you will become a completely new person. Great. But them's overseers reincarnation rules. Everyone in the story reincarnates, but not everyone is an overseer. Method, for sure, confirmed, reincarnates despite being explicitly a human. I think you only reincarnate into someone who looks the same if your soul is controlled, i.e. if you put your soul into a soul crystal. I think that's a secret reason as to why all the overseers have to put their souls in crystals. I know there's also the thing of overseers basically have the souls of gods, but they have bodies that are much closer to just a person. Even if they can't die of old age, they're pretty much just a person with superpowers. The soul is the thing with the power. So if you keep your soul internal, that can be too much for your squishy human body. That is what the headaches are. That's why Infinity's headache went away when Sammy gave him a crystal, and that's why it turned blue, because he put his soul in the crystal without realizing that that was what he was doing. But either way, he did it, and then his soul was now external, so he could exist as a normal person without this huge splitting headache that would, tear apart his body or whatever. So, there's an incentive to use the crystals, but also conveniently, it makes it so your soul is not bound to your body anymore. Not this specific version of it anyway. So if your body dies, your soul will just remake this again, because you put it in the crystal when you looked like that. Basically, without the crystals involved, I think your soul would just move around like normal. Like, a person is born the normal way, and you might be the reincarnation of someone in the past. You don't necessarily need to be born like a phoenix to be a reincarnation. You'll just have half mom genetics, half dad's genetics, and, like, any soul. I think the crystals are like a secret way of A, keeping track of people, and B, taking away a soul's freedom. If they always look the same in every life, the government of these god people always knows who they are, where they are, what their criminal record is. I mean, they do have energy who can read someone's soul and tell you who they are, but if they look the same, it's just easier, man. And if the body is regenerated by the soul when in the crystal, instead of just reincarnating into a new random person far away, it's right in front of you. And that means that all you have to do is keep the soul from, like, you know, the ashes, or from having the room to regenerate, and boom! Now you have a form of capital punishment in a world of reincarnation. The ultimate death penalty. You just have to stop people from reincarnating. Which we see used a few times, namely on Obsession, who used up his, like, I think it was, like, you get 2 strikes, and then your crystal is locked up forever. And Control, the king, would absolutely want that. If the king is the embodiment of control and micromanagement and all things, you have to follow my rules, you think he'd just let the souls go on and inhabit whoever on their own pace? No! He'd figure this shit out and lean in hard so he could, you know, say it with me now, control people. Actually, just to add onto this even more, I think that's part of why Control was so chill about the character of Fertility having just so many kids. Because, like, first of all, it builds a society for him to be the king of, but also if they can get as many overseer souls as possible born in the normal way, and then put the souls in crystals, then that's many, many more people controlled. And that's a bunch of less possible, like, loose variables, which I'm sure is something Control hates. So that's my crystal theory and my reincarnation theory. A double whammy. The fertility thing might not be true. It might just be, like, her following her magic, so Control might just not mind. Or he might not have any rules about kids in general, although I somehow, you know, doubt that, given his other rules. But this particular theory about how fertility is supposed to have kids so that they can corral souls is kind of interesting, because it brings up another question about the nature of souls. Because, like, is it like there are some souls that are just kind of out there being people traveling around that are overseers? Or is it more that any soul has the potential to have magic, and has the potential to have magic all the way up to, you know, god level, god tier magic? I kind of prefer that one. I think as much as souls may be, you know, inherently magic, paranormal concepts, a lot of if you, the person with the soul, is magic or not in this world depends on your blood, and how much you've had the magic inside of you awakened, and how much practice you have. And I think that's really cool, and it sort of matches the canonical, do you get your magic through blood or through breath system that doesn't account for souls. So basically, I think any soul can be super magical. You just have to be lucky enough to be born into a situation where your soul can be at its full potential, which, again, its full potential can be too much, and then you have to put it in a crystal. So, all this to say, circling back, this is why I think Riddler doesn't look like Puzzles or Deduction, because I think Puzzles and Deduction were born like normal people, and the soul did the normal thing instead of the, you know, rebuild the body Phoenix thing. I want to talk more about Puzzles and Deduction and their birth, though. Specifically, let's talk about their parents. For the longest... Hey, it's Editing Yesterday again. Thank you so much for watching. I'm just going to cut in with the outro that I had written for this whole thing, and, yeah. Boop. So, closing thoughts. If you stuck through this whole thing, damn, I'm proud of you. I hope you can tell how much I liked this series, how much I think about this. Making this video has been a huge challenge and has taken a lot of effort, but I'm so proud of myself for actually getting through it, and I'm so happy that you watched it. and I hope you will stick around for the other parts. I know a shit ton about this franchise, and I'm just over the fucking moon that I got to talk about it and actually put these theories somewhere. I'm far from an expert. There are a lot of blank spots and questions that I have. A lot of questions sprinkled throughout the series, but I also wonder a lot of specifics, like, for example, what happens if you make a geis for someone else? Like, if you swear an oath that your family will always protect another family, what happens if your other family members don't do that? But I guess, I suppose we'll never know. Again, I hope things get better, legitimately, for the creator and for the fans. This is art. If this, 40,000 word script hasn't been enough to convey it yet, I absolutely adore this story, and I don't know if I'll ever not be obsessed with it. I guess nothing lasts forever, but truly this story has stuck with me and continued to inspire me since 2019. I really appreciate all the work and art and effort, just the hours that went into forging it into such a good story. The work and care really shows itself in how awesome and fun to hear and think about all of these characters and all of the stories are. Ugh. If I could make one request for this story, I would want Stephanie and Philip and Dawn to have sharp teeth. That would make me happy. Honestly, give Paradox an opposite and Chaos sharp teeth too. She deserves it. Big ol' chompers for everyone. Thank you all for giving me the space to have a very self-indulgent video. There is so much more here, even more than I've just covered in these theories, but I don't feel like it's all my story to tell, you know? I think I'm gonna leave it here. Except, of course, for the other parts. Anyway, drink some water. I hope you had a great day yesterday, and I will see you next time. Bye!